Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 24th, 2026 meeting of the Milton Select Board. Please rise if you are able and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 3 on our agenda is public comment. For public comment, we allow 21 total minutes of time and 3 minutes per speaker. I will give a verbal warning if we hit the 2 minutes and 30 seconds mark. I'm just going to set my timer. I will keep an eye on the 3-minute countdown. Mr. Milano will keep track of our 21 minutes. I do believe that we have someone here for Citizen Speak, sir, so I'd welcome you to come and join us at the table.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. By way of introduction, James DuPont, 118 Elm Street East, Rainham, for the minutes. I was a selectman school committee member in the town of Rainham for a total of 26 years. I'd like to talk to you tonight about Chapter 70. With your permission, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Milton Select Board. I come with a message of grave and immediate importance to the property owners and voters of Milton, members of the Milton Select Board, and the administration of the town of Milton. The issue is twofold. First, it concerns the decades-long underfunding by the Massachusetts State Legislature. There are several categories of local aid, including but not limited to Chapter 70, which, as you know, is one of the biggest factors in setting the local property tax rate, and hence how much the residents and the businesses of Milton are asked by you to pay. After Prop 2.5, the cities and towns were limited in how much they could raise the prior year's levy, and consequently, many local services, mostly education, so that's the biggest part of your budget, were annually reduced due to insufficient legislative appropriations to local aid, Chapter 70 in particular, aid to education. I've been checking every year since 1973. This brings up the second point. Where does so-called state revenue come from? Fact and indeed, it comes from every resident and business in every city and town, including Milton, which in turn leads me to ask, why isn't the money being taken out of the cities and towns then appropriated and returned to you in order to reduce how much the town has to ask its property owners to pay? It's been my experience that our state legislature has never made full funding of aid to education or local aid a priority. Members of the majority party bemoan how tough things are on Beacon Hill. You're already hearing that. The minority party members shrug their shoulders and say there isn't much I can do about it. Last year, Rainham's budget process resulted in the failure to pay its requested share of the Bridgewater-Rainham Regional School assessment. After a failed Prop 2.5 override, a large layoff of BR employees then followed, 41 teachers. That's 30 more the next year. A resident I discussed this with said, it sounds like bad management. I responded that it wasn't bad management, but rather a shortfall caused by our state legislators not fully funding local aid in Chapter 70. His response, it sounds like our local officials mismanaged their relationships with our state legislators. Milton now is in a state Senate district with the town of Bridgewater, which is of my direct concern. Mr. Chairman, time has come for all local officials, including the members of the Milton Select Board, to demand that their state legislators change their vote on local aid from the current. Here's what's left. Let's change that to what Milton is legally entitled to under the general laws of the Commonwealth. As long as our state reps and state senators are lauded for getting half a loaf, I call it for twist, you want more? Then the local residents and businesses will be told to make up the difference. And you, not the governor, not the legislature, will bear the brunt of the public's ire. Taxes go up and services go down.
30 seconds left, sir.
Just 30 seconds, Mr. Chairman, with your permission.
Of course.
Thank you. As guardians of the local tax dollar, it's time each of you demand that the legislators who represent Milton vote to fully fund all categories of local aid so that the select board won't have to ask the local taxpayers to make up for another shortfall of state funding by raising taxes or overriding Proposition 2.5. Closing, I'll just state, if the state then has a shortfall, let them raise taxes. Let them do massive layoffs instead of forcing the town of Milton to do it for them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a copy of my remarks I'll leave with the board for your perusal at your own leisure, and thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, sir, for coming in. If there are any other speakers for Citizen Speak, if you're online on the Zoom, you can put your hand up. Anyone in the room? Otherwise, we will move along. Thank you. And we do respond to public comment at the end of the meeting, but you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. Item number 4 that we have is our annual report from Municipal Public Education and Government, MPEG. I know we have a couple of folks here that will come up to the table. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Just gonna promote Michael Lynch just to the panelist real quick.
He's promoted.
Oh, perfect. All right.
You with us, Michael? Yes.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you to the select board and the town administrator for having us. I apologize I'm not there in person, but my work kept me in town, so I'm just happy that we can join via Zoom. But to just introduce ourselves, so we are Milton Access TV, or Milton Public Education and Government TV. We are the local access TV station for the town of Milton. We're here to give our report. So we just have a brief PowerPoint presentation, and I think Shane, if you could bring that up now, could start that.
Great, we can see it.
Great. The next slide. So just give you, for the new select board members, just a brief history of MPEG Access. We are MPEG Access, you'll also hear me call us. We do business as Milton Access TV. We were established in 2006 as a nonprofit organization. And the MPEG, as you know it, came into existence in agreement with the town in 2008 to be the public access provider for the town of Milton for the next 10 years. The contract with Milton Access TV and the town of Milton and the contracts with town of Milton and the cable providers used to line up at the same time. They're off, the years are off a little bit, but our contract with the town of Milton is set to expire when the franchise agreement with Comcast expires in 2029. I just want to highlight some important dates that we have over the past 10 years of existence. We are, for some of you that don't know, our main office is located out of the Pierce Middle School. That's where Shane and all of his staff report to every day. I mentioned that in 2019, we signed our 10-year contract agreement with the town that extended it to 2029. As we all know, in 2020 with COVID, MATV was instrumental in producing and managing the first virtual town meeting and kind of set an example for other virtual town meetings across the street. In 2021, I just wanted to highlight that we did go through a very major staff and board of directors change. In 2021, I did step down as the executive director. I had been the executive director for the past 12 years. And in 2021, we also we unfortunately lost 3 of our founding board members. So in 2021, that was a big year, a big change for Milton Access TV. Continuing on, as we became more comfortable in our Zoom world and we returned back to normal, Milton Access TV was instrumental in helping making sure that our meeting rooms were equipped with a hybrid setup. So again, I'm very grateful that our meeting rooms now allow for remote participation, something that we never had before. And our last 2 points, again, the RCN, which is now called Astound, their franchise agreement was again re-signed in 2025. In 2025, we also completed the fire station meeting room that you're all sitting in tonight. And I'm sure Shane will talk about that a little bit later in the report. And it's about that time in 2026 and early 2027 that Milton Access TV and the town will have to start to prepare to renew the franchise agreement with with Comcast. The ascertainment process usually takes about 3 years. So I just wanted to highlight that we'll be coming into that time very soon. Shane, next slide. We can turn it over to Becky.
So you can see from our board of directors, we have our regular board members. And as Mike said, he became a board member. We were not willing to let him go when he stepped down as our executive director. He kind of runs the whole place. And our treasurer, Bob Reeds. We always have a school committee appointee, who right now is Liz Carroll, and our select board appointee, which has been Sol. Our longstanding member, Bruce Pearson, and our newest member is Mike Zulis right now. I've been on the board for a little over 10 years. I served as the school committee appointee and with some of the original board members, and kind of fell in love with being on the board. So I was lucky enough that after I stepped down from the school committee, they asked me to stay on, which I did. I've been the president of the board for a few years, and unfortunately I'm going to have to retire from the board and step down after a little over 10 years, which I wish them well. So one of the things I wanted to say tonight, I highly recommend this board. We do a lot of really interesting things, including just one of many things that Mike and I are working on right now. We are running the annual election debate with our students, and I know a lot of you have participated in that, and you know it's probably one of the best debates. The students always really surprise us with their questions. They do their research. Shane helps them along the way by providing some old videos on old debates and things and what each board does. They learn a lot from it, but we also learn a lot from them, and they really run the debate. So that's just one of the many things you do, and I feel like the board and the organization has grown so much over the years, especially under Shane's leadership as executive director with a lot of things we're doing. I'm always surprised by some of the things happening in town. It's really one of my best ways of finding out new things in town. So I highly recommend. My point would be that if you are interested and always wanted to be involved in a board, it's not a huge amount of time, and it's very interesting, great people. So if you're interested, you can contact Shane at our website or via his email.
Yeah, Shane at miltonaccesstv.org or info@miltonaccesstv.org.
And we're looking for some you don't necessarily need a huge technology background or cable TV background. People from all backgrounds can come and participate. So if you're interested, please contact us. And thank you for Mike and Shane for having me on the board and working with me all these years.
And just to be clear, Becky, that I know it lists 2 members right now, but you have the capacity to absorb more. So
yes,
there's not.
We're definitely looking for a few more members. So, we kind of vote on it every year as a board, and it kind of depends on, what our schedule and what it fits in. So a couple more, maybe 2 or 3 members would definitely be able to, I'm sure, squeeze in.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And then thank you, Becky, for introducing the board of directors. This is just a slide of our amazing staff. As you all know, our staff is led by our executive director, Shane Brandenburg. We have a director of operations, Tom Pella. Shane and Tom have been with us since the beginning, well over 10 and 12 years of being with us. We have a director of editing and programming, Ted Omo, our production and government coordinator and public meeting extraordinaire, Don Doyle in the control room, and our production intern this year is Curtis Collins. We also have, we are audited by DePisa and Company. We have a CPA on staff, which is Green Oak Financial out of Milton. Next slide. And then we do like to report every year. We do have some volunteers that come from our community. Jim Stallions, Ryan Nigerian, and Ryan has also been with us for quite some time. Jackson Long, our sports announcement extraordinaire, and then again, our production intern, Curtis Collins. Next slide. Okay, just as a refresher, so we are the cable TV station for the town of Milton. We actually have 3. So we have TV station dedicated for each one of our content areas. So the government content is on Comcast 8, Astound 3. Our public content is on Comcast 9 and Astound 13. Our education content is on Comcast 22 and Astound 15. And of course, you can always find us streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and you can see some of our content on Instagram as well. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to Shane, our executive director, who can talk to us about some of the great programming that we have at Milton Access TV.
Shane Brandenburg, Executive Director of Milton Access. Just going to go through basically some of the stuff we have on each channel. So Channel 8 or RCN Astound 3 is our government channel. So we have more stuff that's like obviously related to the town. We do have some special programming like the Milton TVW Stormwater Runoff Education Program, where we did work with the engineers of the town to talk about the runoff system that's at the Collicott Cunningham School. Town meeting preview show, which is a great way to get ready for town meeting every year. We cover all the town meetings and special town meetings. We've done PSAs for the town clerk's office and how they're run for office. We cover Memorial Day and Veterans Day ceremonies. As Becky mentioned, the Milton Speaks candidate forums. There is a live election results show from Town Hall, where we have town clerk Sue Galvin read off the numbers from each precinct. And the last year, a lot of MassDOT hearings with Route 28 going on. So we've tried to get as many of those recordings as we can, especially if they're in town, have presentations. There was a town bylaw, I believe in 2020, the years all meld together now, 24 or 25, which expanded the types of meetings that Milton Access posts. So it's all elected boards. So cemetery trustees, park commissioners, board of health, board assessors, and library trustees. We've also done additional coverage at the town's request, such as the Milton Budget Coordination Committee. Sorry, some of these are just too long. You have to acronym them. The Select Board Finance Committee and the Fire Station Building Committee. And just to, go to our public channel. This is all hyper-local content, so anything that's really going on in Milton. We have a lot of new shows in the last year coming out, so we're on a project now, A Year in the Life of a Beekeeper, which is every single month. You'll see what the Billion Backyard Bees project does, so you know how honey is made, how you take care of bees if you want to do this on your own. I would recommend watching before doing on your own. The summer concert series at the gazebo, East Milton strolls and tree lighting events. We have a program of Revolutionary Milton, which is basically talking about anything related to the Revolution, as we know it's 250 this year. So the Suffolk Resolves House, the original drafts of the Declaration of Independence, those types of things. The Take One, Leave One program at Town Hall, which has been very successful video. And we just started the Brookwood Farm series. And we also work with the Blue Hills Ski Resort to do instruction videos if you want to know how to ski or snowboard. And then we still have one of our premier programs, It's All Right with Suzette, who is a local author and interviews best-selling authors. Just a few more shows. We also cover the annual stuff, such as the We Are Milton Music Fest, Milton Porch Fest. We started a new show called Let's Make a Mess, which is a kids-based program, teaching kids how to get off their phone and basically just create, something that's very hard to do these days. Stories and Stones with the Milton Cemetery, which has been a big hit. There's a lot of famous people who lived and passed in Milton and brought a lot to history. Got Blue Hills twice, whoops. And this Veteran Stories, we're working with the Veterans Department to do a monthly series on veterans in Milton who served. You may actually see them at Hometown Heroes all over town, so we're actually going through that list.
Oh, great.
We're trying to get people who are still alive before going further down the list because those stories need to be heard. We also started a meditation show with Derek Crothers at Milloway Meditation, and we also covered the 5th anniversary for George Floyd last year. Last year. And then Channel 22, which is our education. We have our almost 10 years now stepping up to the plate, which is a local sports show, talks Boston sports, national sports, but really focuses on Milton sports. We try to get as many of the events at the high school, so the senior awards. We always do graduation live from Brooks Field. Milton Public Schools concert series, so jazz concerts, band concerts, those types of things. Milton School Committee forums, Milton School Committee meetings, school building committee meetings, finance subcommittee meetings, and first grade and kindergarten info. So anyone who has a kid in the Milton Public Schools, you can find everything that the Milton Schools is doing on our YouTube. Biggest thing for us, sports. You can just see some of our content on our Instagram here on the right. We are very dedicated to the sports program here at Milton. When we were starting to do our upgrades for systems in Milton for hybrid meetings, the next thing we did was make it so we could broadcast HD from any of the games, which has been life-changing. We have viewers from all over the world. We have parents, grandparents from Ireland and other places who watch their kids, and they absolutely love it. We cover the Thanksgiving football game whenever it's every other year, so I believe we're covering it this year. We also did a documentary about the 2023 Milton Wildcats when they went to the Super Bowl and won. And just a few other things. Equipment upgrades. This lovely room. That was our biggest project from 2025. We're very happy to see that everyone loves this room and uses it and requests it. One of, I think, our biggest successes. This was the first new meeting room in over a decade for the town. So we're very, very happy about this place. This also only requires one employee, Sean, versus 2 to run a hybrid meeting versus what used to be for the Blue and the Cronin room. We also have been utilizing AI on our website. There is now a transcript service. It automatically transcribes every meeting that we upload to our YouTube, and it's searchable and by date. We have found it definitely processes longer, so it is more accurate than a Zoom transcript or anything else. And we've just been upgrading other things such as Brooksfield's Wi-Fi so we can have better signal and service. And just to go through hours of programming, so throughout the year, basically the government channel, we are airing about 6,200 hours of government meetings, so board appeals, select board, those types of things. Public, all the shows I just mentioned, as well as PSAs. And education, which would be school committee, any sports, and any info nights or anything that the school system is running. Okay. Michael, would you like to tackle this, or should I?
Sure. Thank you, Shane. So again, I want to thank our executive director and our amazing staff with everything they accomplished and all the programming that they put out there. And I'd like to now just talk to you about how Milton Cable is funded and the future, and we'll talk about. So this chart up here is detailing the Milton Cable TV subscribers. I've kept a track of them since I started back in 2009. So you can see here, cable subscribers are on a steady decline and have almost taken a cliff dive in 23 and 24 with almost a 10% average decline each year. Our funding is made up of 5% of the cable revenues in the town by the cable providers, Comcast and Astound. So obviously tracking cable subscription numbers is very important to us because funding is made up. As our streaming entertainment becomes more popular, more and more residents and more subscribers this year are cutting the cord and moving to more streaming services than traditional cable. So I wanted to just highlight the subscription numbers. They're tracked by the state, and the numbers for 2025 will be due out sometime in late April, early May. So we'll be able to see, unfortunately, how many subscribers we potentially lost in 2025.
Michael,
next slide, Shane.
if I could interrupt, this is Nick Milano. We had looked at the numbers today as well, and as of the quarterly payment from March from Comcast, their number was down to 4151, and Astound as of December was down to 266. So that trend has certainly stayed on exactly what you're speaking to. So I just wanted to share those more updated numbers as of that we have them, and I can shoot those to you via email as well.
Great, thank you for sharing those with me. Shane, next slide. Okay, So this is a slide for our operating budget. I do apologize. I think some of the spacing got spaced out when we moved it to the Google Drive. But so I'm just going to walk you through just our basic budget here. So most of our budget is just for salary and wages and employee benefits such as health insurance. So we do currently have four full-time positions and 2 full-time positions budgeted for the year. We haven't been able to fill the 2 part-time positions, and we don't anticipate filling those in the future, just with the way that our budget has been working. The next big item in our budget is our accounting services. And it's something that we might be back before the select board to talk about possibly trying to reduce some of our accounting services with some of the requirements that we have in our contract with the town. We do have some utilities that we pay for. We are provided, we do pay for internet and telephone. We have just insurance. We do pay for workers' comp, general liability. So I just wanted to outline our budget here. So our budget is usually $460,000 for the 2025 to 2026 year. That is down from the previous years. And on the next slide, we will show you that. So again, so the budget and funding, we're funded by the cable providers to the town, and the funding goes through the town of Milton, and it actually goes through a warrant article. So some of the residents have seen MATV funding as a warrant article, and that's just the mechanism in which the cable or the MATV can receive the funding from the franchise operator. The gross annual revenue from cable providers has been on the decline for the past couple of years. From 2024 to 2025, we saw an 8.5% decrease in funding. The previous year drop was 3%, and the year before that, our funding was flat. So we're definitely starting to see the decrease start to increase more and more each year. Luckily, from 2013 to 2023, MATV had always had a budget surplus every year from the cable revenues, so we were able to put that into our savings. We're definitely been using that to fund the budget gap. For some internal discussions with the board, we're doing a budget realignment for 2026. Again, I mentioned some things that we are looking to do. Unfortunately, we've had a great executive director who's sort of gone through and been able to decrease the budget items and kind of weed out the unnecessary purchases. But now we're kind of getting into employee benefits and staff that we might have to start reducing. But the good news is from budget and funding is that through the most recent franchise agreement with Astound, there was some capital funding awarded for public education and government. It was $50,000 over 10 years, so it would be about $5,000 a year. That would certainly help offset if we had to purchase some new cameras or things like that. But our last capital payment was from Comcast in 2020 for $350,000, which has been depleted with all the equipment that we've had to purchase. Next slide. So we're here today. Really what drove our wanting to come in and present our report to you was that there is something at the state level going on that would be sort of helping with the future funding with public access centers across the state. Right now, there are 2 bills that are being introduced at the state level, H91 and S2556, and they are both called an Act to Modernize Funding for Community Media Programming. And again, just some historical knowledge, the 5% gross annual revenues that the franchise providers pay to the towns that they franchise in is based off of the Cable Act from 1984. So in 1984, Cable Act was written when cable TV was coming about, and that was to allow the cable providers to go into the towns and conduct their business. So the way that MATV is funded is based off of this 1984 Cable Act, and I think I can speak freely for everyone. It's time to update that act. It is a federal one. It's been something that has been tried to been addressed at the federal level, but with no success. We have moved down to the state levels. So what these two bills are looking to do is to just level the playing field with the streaming providers. Right now, Comcast pays 5% to have their physical infrastructure in the town of Milton and to deliver their services to our residents. The streaming providers use that same infrastructure to deliver their product to our residents and our viewers and are not subject to the 5% fee. So kind of makes sense to Milton Access TV. We belong to a state organization called Mass Access, which is just a statewide organization that represents over 200 public access centers across the state. And we see this as a win that could potentially help fill some of that funding gap that we have been experiencing. Bills like this have been submitted before and have been defeated. We know that there are, and Shane has some more accurate numbers on this, but there are more than a dozen states that already do have this type of digital streaming franchise fee on the streaming providers. And I think it'd just be a great time for Massachusetts to join those other states. So I wanted to kind of give an intro to the future funding slide and why we wanted to come tonight and possibly see if the select board want to support those two bills on behalf of Milton Access TV. And I will turn it over to Shane, who might have some more comments about the way the fee works, and especially that our local delegation has already signed on in support of these bills.
Just to add a little more clarity to the bill that we're talking about, H91 and S2556. Both bills are supported by our reps in Milton, so thank you, Mr. Wells and Mr. Driscoll. The way it would work, it would be the same flat 5% fee that is currently charged on your cable bill. The way it would be distributed is it would all go into a fund, where 20% of that fund would go to the state to fund their own infrastructure, and then the remaining 80% would be split evenly between the municipality, so in this case, the town of Milton, and then 40% for Milton Access Television. This fund would be a great way to maintain some funding in the fund that, sorry, so many funding. So right now, the room that we're in was actually built using funds from revenue that comes from Comcast. So we do have a 5% contract with Comcast. 0.4% of that goes to a fund, which is what funded this room. As our revenues go down, so does so do the payments to that fund as well. So this would be a great way to not only help Milton Access, but also make sure the fund that the town has would be receiving enough money to actually continue doing projects like this. And as Michael said, the streaming pretty much relies on infrastructure and cables, but they're not contributing or paying any fees. So my thoughts would also be, when something goes down or we have any infrastructure issues, we have people, we have companies like Netflix and such who aren't paying to actually use that, but are, over time, things just degrade and things get used. And as also non-internet tax or a resident tax, it is a subscription tax. And as Michael also mentioned, there's actually 33 states that have this. So I know Massachusetts likes to be first, but we're kind of really far behind on this one. And this is just a great way to make sure that just to put it out there, this wouldn't be like a windfall of money or anything. This would pretty much be based upon what your best 3 years of revenue have been for your station. And then they would use that average. And then they would try to fill the gap, basically, from what your current funding is and what it was then. Now, that may not necessarily fill the entire gap, but it is enough money to keep us going, put some money away, hire another part-timer, that type of thing. if anyone has any questions or concerns, things to say.
Questions from members?
I'm trying to get through the future funding.
Sure.
I know there's a lot in there. So you said there already is a 5% fee on our bills, which many of us probably don't see because they're digitized at this point.
Yes, so the town, Milton negotiated a fee through Comcast. So on your, if you have a Comcast cable subscription, at the bottom will be a fee, which is basically a use fee or municipal use fee. So the town of Milton collects that 5% from Comcast and then gives us our predetermined and agreed upon fee, which is 4.6 of that 5%. So, and then as I said, that remaining 0.4% goes to a fund which can be used for any sort of IT infrastructure types of things. The broadband committee has pulled money from there. As I said, this room was funded with that fund as well. So
That's the fee on Comcast.
Correct.
If once people, the reason the funding has gone down over the years is obviously people are disconnecting from regular cable TV and using streaming services. So that's why that funding has gone down. So what they're, a lot of these other states are doing is basically saying to fill that gap, there would be a fee on these services that people are using instead of cable TV. You wouldn't be charged twice.
So is the fee currently, if you have a Comcast cable, just Comcast Wi-Fi, you're not being charged the fee?
Correct.
Correct.
So also there's another situation that's starting to come around where, say, T-Mobile now, you can just get a T-Mobile hotspot and you put your TV on that. That's not even anything to do with Comcast. So this is another way to fill that gap. So basically it's just a state use fee for any streaming service.
So it's like going from hardwired cable to charging.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Verizon Fios did a huge rollout in the last year and a half, 2 years in Milton, where they had a very limited internet option, but they put Fios throughout the town. So that was an example of Verizon coming in, offering only internet, not offering cable, and therefore they don't have to, their subscribers aren't charged the fee either, even though it's, it's Fios, but it's just internet, it's not cable. So they're not charged it at all.
Other question? Oh, Michael has his hand up. Michael?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Zoll. I just wanted to comment on that too. So, and thank you, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Milano for commenting on that, because it is the streaming providers are not paying the tax. So if you did transition from traditional cable to just internet, you don't pay that fee. And what Comcast and Verizon are now trying to do with Xfinity and Fios is to become a internet streaming company. And we know that we're seeing that in the future, they're going to try to deliver their services, their cable TV stations via this Fios and this Xfinity, and that's trying to skirt like the 5% cable contribution, because it wouldn't be traditional cable. So I think it's just, if I could just say, I think it's all good to try and update that law where traditional cable versus streaming. Streaming is something that we have now, and it's clearly here to stay. And I think that they should be contributing fairly as well.
Other questions?
No, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
I do have questions. I wanted to give other people
Should
a
have
chance.
started with it. Thank you.
But yes, I will echo that. Thank you. We're very grateful. I think I'm probably one of the few people who has had both been subjected to the student debate as well as had a student who was doing the debate. Fortunately, my daughter didn't interview me because I think she would have been very tough on me if that had been. So it's clearly an amazing service that you guys provide, and I'm not just saying that because I'm the select board representative to the board. I think as Shane said, or maybe it was Michael, but the ability of a grandparent to watch a student play, sports remotely is it's just priceless, really. So just a couple of quick questions about the legislative initiatives. So in the 33 now states, is it just a blanket on all of the streaming, so like Hulu, Netflix?
Yeah,
Peacock?
pretty much any of those services, yeah.
Okay, and that's,
I don't know the nitty gritty of each, but
Yeah.
I mean, each state, different percentages. It could be, there might be clauses for if you already have a cable subscription or something like that, that you don't pay this fee. I didn't have time to go through all 33 states, unfortunately. And this is definitely a concern I'm sure people have. Mr. Milano brought up, he does have cable and also pays for streaming. Would he pay twice? So at the moment, my thoughts on this would be, I can bring this up to the Mass Access Board. It is in the Ways and Means Committee at the moment. The Senate, we do have 23 senators, so we do have enough to get this passed. If it passes in the Senate, it would still have to go to the House and be revised. So my suggestion would be to the Mass Access Board is that we do have a clause like, if you're already purchasing, Comcast cable and you are paying, then you should not be paying on top of that for Netflix, and vice versa. Maybe you had all your streaming services and you're like, oh crap, there's one show I just can't watch on any app and I have to get cable. So we can, that would be my thoughts. I will bring this up at the next board meeting. There is one on Friday for Mass Access, so I'll bring this up.
Yeah, because my other thought too is, at my house, for example, we have like 5 or I don't know how many streaming services, probably 5 that we're subscribed to. So are we getting hit, would we be hit 5 times then, or would it be?
I think they'd have to figure that out, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the other states, they're not, if 33 other states are doing this, I think that they would be able to figure out a way where, you're paying it at one time, and if you're already paying cable, they can figure out how one household can't share too many different services already, so I'm sure they could figure out a one-time subscription depending on which things you have. I think the bottom line is, this has been funded for years with these organizations as an important resource to towns, these local cable companies that provide a lot of services to our towns. And I think that, it seems that most people are united in the state to say this is an important service, it should be funded this way, and we want to keep this in our towns and services providing those. So I think that the legislature can do that. But Sheen has kept a pretty close eye on this throughout the last couple of years, as has Mike. So we can definitely come back and answer some of those questions for you too.
Thank you. One other question too. So we also have Representative Fluker Reed that serves the town. Do we know?
We have reached out to her office. She said she will be just going to the House Ways and Means. We write her every week.
Okay.
So we email her, we call her office. I would just like to say we're very grateful, as Mr. Wells always been a friend to Milton Access, but also signing on for the House bill, and then Mr. Driscoll, Senator Driscoll signing on. I think Milton is a very particular case where everyone loves this town, and civic government is a very large part of life here. And I think that it would be a shame and really sad if we had to close, or curtail coverage and stuff, just because, people aren't paying for cable anymore. And while, as I did mention, there is the issue of like, if you were to double pay or something like that, I think that can be very much fixed in the amendment or planning phase if it was to get to the House. On top of that, I think this is also just a good thing to get out there, because we all know how slow the government can be sometimes. And I think that having this in place as cable revenues continue to drop, there will be a point where, if this takes a long time, based upon how much we're losing each quarter, it's not just us, it could also just be any TV station. If this is not in place by a certain period of time, funding just hits the cliff, and that's when you start losing stations, you start losing coverage, and you start losing, basically the ability for residents to know what's going on in their town and keep track of what's going on in their town.
Thank you. I see Mr. Wells has his hand up. Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. Thank you, Shane. First, to my friend Becky, I don't see you much anymore. It's very rare that I even see you anymore. But I just want to say thank you for all of you did. I remember when you stepped up to take over MPEG, take over the board. I sat on it. Mr. Lynch's grandfather was still with us then, and I'm sure he's smiling down tonight. And all of you, you've done tremendous things in this town, as all of you know. And to Shane, to your point, both Senator Driscoll and I'm with Representative Fukari tomorrow. I will mention this to her. But the fact that I have not followed this, I don't sit on TUE, the Technologies Energy Utility Committee, but I'd say the fact that it's at Ways and Means probably means there's a good chance. You are correct. Everything you've described today is the reality of where cable TV is going today and how high-speed internet has kind of become the thing. So you're correct, Shane, that if we don't act on this. So I just want to say thank you very much to both of you. And as I am very shortly exiting my longtime role here with the town, I am very much cognizant of these things that locally that wind up on my desk in the State House. So thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Rich.
So we could put a motion forward on this, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Milano, or do we need to?
If the board would like to support the legislation, we have a draft letter we spent some time working on today. We could finish that and have it submitted with your approval. If the board would so vote.
So moved. I move that we support sending a letter to the Senate Ways and Means Committee to support the fee.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Wells, you have your hand up still?
Mr. Chair, obviously I'd be abstaining on a motion on a bill that I sponsor. So I just would suggest that you copy the Chair of Ways and Means in the House as well.
So we take that as an amendment to your motion?
Yes.
All right. Since we have two members remote, this will be a roll call vote. Any further discussion? So why don't we start online, Mr. Wells?
I will abstain, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So we will very happily support these efforts, and you have our continued gratitude for all of the services that you provide the town.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Thank you.
If I
Thank
could
you.
just in closing,
please,
I just
Mr.
want to
Milano.
share just that the relationship has always been so strong, and I feel like Shane and the whole team, you never hear no from them, so we always appreciate their help.
We try our best. Sometimes we do have to say no.
It's been a pleasure working
Yes.
with
It's been,
you.
I just, from our perspective, it's
All
been
of the elected
seamless.
officials, we work very closely with MATV, on our meetings and everything, and it is true. It's always been a very amicable and friendly relationship, so we're very grateful for that.
Great team.
Except for
Doing
that
my
Sean.
job. Means I'm doing my job right, so. All right.
Great. All right.
Thank
you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
So moving on, item 6, we have committee reports. A, Select Board Finance Committee. And Mr. Wells, you have your hand up still. I don't know if that's up for purpose.
Just to put it down.
Okay. All right. So turn to you, Mr. Daly.
Yeah, I'll start since Megan's online. So I think where we left it after our last meeting was we were waiting for some more information from the schools on the finalization of their budget, as well as the use of the special education fund and the $500,000 allocation. We were able to meet with the schools last Wednesday where they shared more details on their circuit breaker use. There were also no positions that were in question. I think there was some advocacy from parents in town around some of the cuts that were proposed early on. We started with, I believe, 17.9. That's been reduced to now, I think, about 3.9, somewhere around. It won't speak entirely for the schools, I think you're correct there. The schools did increase their usage of the circuit breaker funds, which put us in a better position, which made us, kind of brought us to the middle there. And so we then advocated for using the $500,000 and putting in the special education fund. There was a proposal from the warrant committee chair about a difference in should we put it into operating, should we put it back in free cash, perhaps for snow and ice budget, which we discussed at that meeting. Most of the folks in the room, myself, Chair Haggerty, and members of the school committee really wanted the special education fund, mostly because it allows the schools some flexibility if they have a rise in costs. They're able to meet with us and able to deploy those costs if they have some rise that happens that's sort of unforeseen without going to the state. It allows them to move the funds when needed. Last night at the warrant committee, myself and Senator Chair Milano, with the warrant committee. They made their proposals around the budget and the warrant. Also regarding the use of the 100,000, it was presented on the floor. Should it be moved to snow and ice after Ms. Milano discussed the snow and ice budget? In that moment, it was then agreed upon that it would stay in the special education fund and that we would use, we would possibly present at a later town meeting for the snow and ice budget, some options there. So that's really where we stand. In the warrant, 500,000 to the special education fund. I think we've closed the gap most of the way for the school budget. I believe the schools voted on their budget that's been presented to the warrant committee. That's been approved. And so that kind of closes it out for us. I'm not sure when we're going to take the vote, if tonight or perhaps when all the members are present before town meeting for the closing of the budget as well. Leaving a few other pieces that I know we discussed last time, the appointment of the cyber position for police, the use of funds for the economic development plan, which I believe we are going to split with the planning board, which would then adjust the budget for MPIC. MPIC will have a smaller amount. The money will come out of the planning board as well as the select board's budget, and we will work on that as a joint committee, select board, planning board, and then also the traffic calming allocation as well. I think those are all the pieces that we've discussed, with the schools being the biggest piece, which I believe is now firmly settled, that we're able to move forward. In our joint committee meeting, which we had this Monday, the schools also presented their three-year plan as they see their budget over the next 3 years. Mr. Milano and Amy Dexter are going to take that and then also overlay on top the town's projected budget for the next 3 years, and allows the joint committee to then start to really map out where the town's going to be with our best guesses and our adjustments over the next 3 years, and give us a really full plan for if we're going to see an override or how we're going to allocate funding. So I think that's kind of been our charge for this year, especially coming off of the override, and I think it's been a good process. We've had some battles, some fights, which I think are very healthy. And Mr. Walker, as well, in our joint committee meeting on Monday, really laid out a budget calendar, which I think has been used before, but very helpful, because again, there are always new faces and new seats, and so it's important that we all know the calendar and the schedule and expectations going into next year's budget season. That kind of gets us to this point, perhaps a little earlier.
Thank you. That's quite comprehensive.
Megan Haggerty, Megan, did I miss anything?
Ms. Haggerty, welcome to chime in.
That was comprehensive and well done.
Wonderful. Any questions from the members about that process?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Haggerty. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know we spoke a little bit earlier about the discussion with the schools, and I'm very pleased that we've got to a point where both the select board and the school committee really have agreed on this. I know the warrant committee also has their perspective. I think really for those of us who have been on these boards for a couple of years or more, the amount of I would say transparency and discussion and cooperation at the budget level this year have been great. I think the progress has been great. I think there's still a lot of room for continued progress. And having a 3-year plan and a map really kind of points to that, where we can be in a few years with this continued effort. So I thank you for your services on the Finance Committee and the Coordination Committee. I think then that would sort of naturally segue, Mr. Milano, into our discussion of the fiscal year 27 budget.
Sure, thank you. And I'll just do kind of a broad overview of what the budget is, just to recap and put all of the inputs in one place for you. So overall, the fiscal 27 budget is recommended to be $155.7 million. We've talked a lot about the various revenue sources. Appreciate the public comments earlier about state aid, which we have at $19 million this year. I'll just note that the Mass Municipal Association is advocating strongly for additional state aid money and under a tagline of $351 million for 351 cities and towns, which would be a significant increase in state aid. So hopefully as the budget moves through the process, we remain advocating, and maybe that number will tweak a little bit and give us a little bit more wiggle room. So overall, we have reduced the withdrawal from the operating budget stabilization fund as a result of some less than anticipated costs in a couple of budget accounts. But as discussed, property taxes, local receipts, state aid, and the operating budget stabilization fund make up how we're spending our money in fiscal 27. I have a slide here. We talked a bit about some of the adjustments that we made over the past 6 weeks in terms of tweaking our forecasts, both with the state aid, with the governor's budget, as well as our local receipts based on how things are appearing so far in fiscal 26. Just to recap on the budget in terms of kind of a high level of some of the key points, I think, to take away. As a reminder, the health insurance budget will be going up with an 8% premium that is borne by the employees and by the town. That's after a 14% premium increase in fiscal 26. A lot of conversation around health insurance leading into the budget, so I'll leave that there. The budget meets our OPEB policy by appropriating funds both into the OPEB trust as well as into the Milton retirement system. That policy is $2.5 million for future liabilities, growing at 2.5% a year, and it's spent fully again in fiscal 27. We've met our new financial policies by appropriating additional $675,000 of free cash into the general stabilization fund, which will bring our general stabilization fund above our 5% target of the fiscal 27 budget. When you put together the general capital and road stabilization funds, they arrive at 6% of our overall budget. And I'll just note, at the end of fiscal 23, that general stabilization fund sat at $5 million. So over the last couple of fiscal years, through infusions of free cash when we've had it, as well as significant investment earnings of close to $400,000 2 years in a row, we've been able to carefully raise that balance and buttress the town's finances by building that stabilization fund, putting the town's budget on firmer financial footing.
It's a credit to you, Mr. Milano, and a lot of your work.
Just making sure we carve it out and we do it when we have the free cash with which to do it. So I appreciate those comments. And just in terms of the management of the funds has been a credit to the treasurer and making sure we're maximizing what we can there. We've also set aside additional funds for future fiscal years by appropriating $1 million of free cash into the operating budget stabilization fund. Supports town and school capital needs by appropriating $1.2 million in free cash to capital. We also have, the debt service budget as well that's supporting additional capital purchases. As Mr. Daly just discussed, the overall reserves of both the town and the schools have been supported by free cash contribution to the SPED stabilization fund, which again will require approval of both the select board and the school committee to withdraw money out of that for eligible special education or transportation expenses. In terms of town departmental budgets, so all the town departmental level level service requests have been met fully by the budget. And in addition, there is an additional FTE funded in the Milton Police Department, as was discussed, for the technical support position. And there are several one-time projects that we wouldn't consider recurring costs, but are one-time expenditures of funds in fiscal 27. This just shows a summary of the expenses. So the school budget is going up by 3.76%. Blue Hills Regional is stabilized at about even. Our shared expenses, which includes, capital, health insurance, retirement, OPEB, general insurance, consolidated facilities, are going up at slightly more than 3.5%. The town departments, year over year, are increasing by 6.5%. But when you pull out one of those one-time expenses and include just the new police position, it's about a 4% increase year over year. So outpacing the school department slightly there.
First time for everything.
I'll speak more to that in a moment. Again, we talked about some of the changes that we've made over the past month in terms of debt service and health insurance. I'll note that our general insurance budget, we've realigned that. We've just been a little conservative in that and over budget, and in the sense of budgeting more than we need. In addition, we've had better than recent year experience on workers' comp, and some higher workers' comp claims are rolling off. So we're experiencing a significant reduction in our premium for workers' comp coverage, which is great, which is contributing to our ability to reduce that budget, as well as being part of and procuring insurance through Maya, which is our insurer, which is a branch of the Mass Municipal Association. They are returning money to cities and towns this year, just acknowledging some of the budget pressures that we're all under. Just in recapping some of the additional expenses that are happening this year. We talked about the police department position. We've increased health insurance budget to potentially accommodate additional benefits for that position. There's a one-time increase in the DPW budget for fiscal 27 for the traffic calming plan that we've been talking about that we'll hear from Marina and the engineering firm on our April 7th meeting. That will supplement an existing $80,000 appropriation for traffic engineering services. As Mr. Daly mentioned, the Select Board and Planning Board will have a $25,000 appropriation in each budget to support an economic development plan, which is a shift from where we had been at our prior meeting where I had planned to put that appropriation with the master plan committee, and just in conversations the past couple of weeks, I've changed that and made a revised recommendation of pulling it out of the master plan committee, which will still have a small appropriation, but leave the economic development plan funding with the select board and with the planning board. And then in terms of two one-time free cash appropriations, first for the building department, $50,000 for additional hours for part-time inspectors and employees in that department as we're facing and going through significant growth around town and all those projects kind of happening at the same time. And then secondly, the $35,000 from free cash for the planning board for their zoning codification work with zoning bylaw recodification work with KP. So those are the one-time expenses that are contributing to the jump in fiscal 27 for the town budgets. And then just a summary of the proposed use of free cash, which has been kind of covered throughout, but the elections budget, which was appropriated in the fall, a town meeting, capital, as I mentioned, general stabilization, wage set aside I have not mentioned, but that would be any potential retro payments for collective bargaining agreements for town unions as those contracts expired on June 30th. So that money is in the fiscal 26 budget. If we don't reach agreements with the unions within fiscal 26 budget, that money would go unspent. So it's a free cash appropriation in the next year budget in case that happens. School reserves I mentioned, operating budget stabilization fund, and the additional town departmental free cash appropriations. And then lastly, in accordance with the new financial policies, we're going to leave 10% of free cash not appropriated. In prior years, we would appropriate that somewhere, but in keeping with the policies to just start the next fiscal year with at least a baseline amount of free cash, that has the policies been met, and those are the free cash appropriations. I just want to note that the Globe has a story.
Inform the DPW to up the Christmas light game.
And Jack Calabro down at DPW hung everything up, so appreciate his working to do that and working with them to coordinate. They provided the lights again, and we installed it. So a team effort.
Team effort indeed. So we have a motion made and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Mr. Wells. I think I heard yes. Ms. Haggerty.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Discussion and approval, meeting minutes, February 24, 2026. All members were present.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Member Haggerty.
Yes.
Member Wells. Yes. Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. We have the town administrator's report, which I believe is going to come with a introduction.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited about.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're joined this evening by Cody Case, who started last Monday as the new assistant town administrator for Milton. Comes to us from Rasky Strategy. What's the name? Partners. Rasky Partners.
Rasky Partners.
Previously spent time at the State House for Rep. Ken Gordon and was a town meeting member in his hometown several years ago. So a local experience, State House experience, and has hit the ground running over the past 6-7 days. So appreciate him joining us. So and he's been following me around to a few meetings, just starting to know people and seeing the lay of the land. So thank you.
Welcome, Cody. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Just trying to stay in Nick's back pocket and learn as much as I can from him, but it's really a pleasure to be here this evening, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work in Milton. As Nick said, my background is primarily in state politics. I served on town meeting in the town of Burlington, where I grew up for 4 years. I was appointed to the Ways and Means Committee as well. So I do bring a bit of background in municipal government. But I really look forward to learning, working with you all, supporting this board however I can, and obviously supporting Nick. Just grateful to be here and grateful for the opportunity and look forward to it.
We're pleased to have you here. Mr. Wells, you have your hand up?
I do, Mr. Chair, thank you. So I just want to welcome him, and I want to say that Representative Gordon made a point of coming to see me last night to sing your praises as to how much he respects you and admires you. And with regard, I have great admiration for both them, but I do for Rasky Partners, for the members. Rasky Partners represents Labouré. They've been a key player in much of what has gone on and is going on there now. And you come from two good places, so welcome, and I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Wells. Other stuff, Mr. Milano.
New folks arrive and long-term folks depart. So on the other hand, DPW Director Marina Fernandez will be leaving Milton effective May 8th. She's accepted an opportunity to go work for Lochner Engineering to do their water work for the New England region. So we wish her the very best. Sorry to see her go. As both town engineer, as DPW director, she had her hand in any number of significant projects across town. Road projects, water projects, sewer projects, stormwater projects. Over the past 18 months as DPW director, obviously running the operations there, getting blessed with quite an extensive winter this year. So appreciate her efforts, and we'll miss her. We're working through a number of transitions internally just to make sure projects transition well. Fortunately, we did onboard Darwin Ceballos as the new town engineer a couple months ago, so able to have an engineer step up and be in that position where that role had been vacant for a long time. I've asked, and he's accepted, but Tom McCarthy will be moving over to DPW after Marina departs. So he's our current Consolidated Facilities Director. We're working through a game plan on Consolidated Facilities. We'll provide further updates from there, but Tom has accepted to return to DPW. He's the Assistant DPW Director here, knows the operations of the town in and out. So unfortunate to see Marina go, but we're lucky to have the institutional knowledge and experience that Tom has, as we've seen, experienced folks moving on and retiring and moving out of town. To retain institutional knowledge where we can is so critical. So thanks to Tom, congrats to Marina, congrats to Tom, and we'll share more about Consolidated Facilities in coming weeks. In terms of the only other update I wanted to provide this evening was just in terms of some grant announcements that's been coming through over the past couple of weeks since we last met. We had received a MassWorks grant for several $100,000 for engineering work in East Milton adjacent to the existing housing projects over there, so to do some transportation and infrastructure work. So that's a design grant that work is commencing now. We did receive a $130,000 grant through the IT Community Compact program, which is a state program. So that's $130,000 for digitization of planning board, building department, Board of Appeals, Conservation Commission records. So Building Commissioner Michael White led the effort to get this grant to digitize a bunch of records. So appreciate him doing that and for the state to step up. And then after year 4 was our lucky year for Christine Stanton applying for the Community Transit grant program, which provides grant funding for councils on aging for transportation. So 14 passenger bus will be able to purchase with a grant that requires a local match of about $20,000, but the state will provide $100,000 approximately to purchase a new replacement bus. So thanks to Christine's work for trying again, and so we're grateful for the state for stepping up and supporting that grant this time. We are working for a few additional applications. I've shared already the Milton Landing application that will be submitted this Friday. $280,000 grant application to essentially get the money that was taken away with the Seaport Economic Council grant a couple of years to evaluate that seawall, design improvements to the seawall, to the boat ramp and the area down at Milton Landing. Grateful to our partners down there, both the Neponset Rowing Club, Milton Yacht Club, Dexter Southfield, Scott McKay, and JD Wild for all submitting letters of support. So that just shows kind of the community involvement and the partnership that's going forward in that entire area, which we're grateful for and hopefully will be convincing to the application. And then we're also submitting for a climate action plan grant through that same program. Those applications are due on Friday. So anyway, we're away applying for grants where we can and have been successful in the past couple of weeks and have had some nice announcements to be able to share, and hopefully we'll have more in the coming months.
Thank you. For the chair's report, I know that Boston has a reputation of being the city of champions, but Milton is making its climb to town of champions. Congrats to the Milton girls hockey team for winning at the Garden. I believe that was the Sunday before last. State championship a year after being thwarted in their effort to being champions. So congratulations to them. Mr. Milano, do we know if there's a parade planned for that team?
Let's make one happen.
Because if not, yeah, we need to make one happen.
I know I have an email about it. I don't have an answer in this moment. Let me give me a
Okay.
couple minutes and I will try
All right,
to.
take your time, but suffice it to say, we will make that happen. And we may actually want to hold, oh, Mr. Wells, sorry.
I'll just update you. We're moving very quick on this. I think Nick may be aware of this. So next Thursday will be a celebratory day for that team with the whole team. We're inviting their parents as well. We're hosting them. The delegation is hosting them at the State House. It's going to be Milton Girl Championship Girls Hockey Day. So I'll get some more to Nick on that tomorrow for the members, and we welcome their parents and anyone else that wants to attend.
That's great.
It is Saturday, April 4th at 10 a.m. for the parade through town.
First,
All right.
yeah, that's
Saturday,
right.
April 4th for the parade. For those of us who don't work at the State House or have children on the team.
We can get you. We can get you one.
But that's great that we have a parade. So hope everybody can turn out for that. And then also on the subject of Milton being great at things, our theater department is back in the finals for the state championship. There, I can't remember the acronym, but this is we won last year. They're back again this year. It's a 3-day theater festival in Boston. The Milton group is performing on Friday night, this Friday. So if you haven't seen that play, it was very impactful play, and I would encourage you to go to that and reach out to anybody that you know in the theater program. That's all I have for the chair's report. Anything from the members to make the community aware?
Speaking of chairs report, really
Yes.
glad about these new chairs.
I was gonna say, yes. About halfway through the meeting, I realized, I'm like, oh, I'm not sore.
Thank you for anyone that made that adjustment.
Thanks to Tom McCarthy.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Why was that not brought up in the finance committee report? That expenditure?
We got Bark
Want to
alarm.
file a protest? Mr. Daly, you've been holding out on the board.
Anything else from the members? So now we do have public comment response, and I want to recognize that our speaker from Rainham is still here and made a compelling remark around Chapter 70 and underfunding. So I'll turn it to the members for responses.
I will just thank you for the presentation you gave coming in from Bridgewater. I will say I'm not as well versed as yourself around the history of Chapter 70, but you have certainly given me something to take away from this and to research and to follow up with. So thank you very much for
Prop 2.5, but they really try to focus in on state aid. Milton has benefited from things like the Student Opportunity Act, where more money was pushed into Chapter 70 education aid. However, the other state aid categories have not necessarily caught up. And if you go back really to the Great Recession, when there was deep cuts to state aid, things have never really caught up even from back then. So, the Mass Municipal Association has been advocating for it. We appreciate any advocacy around it. So appreciate you coming in, and dollars flowing to the cities and towns are put to use right away. And I appreciate the way you put it.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I just would like to give a little context. I became involved in Rainham's town government for a lot of reasons, one of which was I grew up across the street from Town Hall. But I became interested in town politics very quickly, and as such, I was attending town meeting from the day I turned 18, June of 1971. You can do it. And I very quickly discerned that how the tax rate came to be wasn't simply a matter of where money was going. This is the 18th public board I've been to in the last 10 weeks. And every time there's a budget discussion, it's about where is it going? And I only saw one budget presentation. Town Seekonk, town administrator, also is vice president of the Fall River City Council. Sean Kadim, very capable guy, where they talked about what percentage of the tax dollar came from other sources. And I was one of the founding members of Proposition 2.5. And Edward F. King, who's still alive, is a personal friend of mine that I still speak with regularly. And when they talk about repealing Proposition 2.5, they seem to, and in my remarks, and I hope you'll look at them, I chose the words very carefully, and I appreciate the indulgence of your time on it, that all too often the taxpayer gets, I guess that the rhetoric is, before 2.5, I wrote this in my remarks, if you got shortchanged, you threw another nickel on the tax rate and you went on about your business. I was tracking that from 73 to 1980, the year that Proposition 2.5 passed, watching how the local tax rates were mushrooming because of the state's failure to fully fund. Because every one of those, and your town administrator, I'm sure your town treasurer will tell you that they get a letter from the state, your pro rata share is, and it's never 100%. Before 2.5, you put a nickel on the tax rate and you went on about your business. After 2.5, what you don't get, that you're entitled to under the formula, they'll tell you how much you're entitled to, but we don't have it to give to you. And I guess, Mr. Chairman, and I want to also just very directly say, this is a very professional board. It's a very professional meeting, and it was good exchange amongst the members. And the town administrator obviously came well prepared, and he better get a good evaluation for it.
He will from me.
But I'm trying to, and I'm not asking the board for any vote or action. But as Lever Dirksen said in 1964, when he and a number of Republicans broke the filibuster over the Civil Rights Act, he said, search your hearts. And I'm trying to tell people in Rainham, we had a failed Prop 2.5. And all the talk was about how bad we were doing. I said, that's just not true. And the people at Town Hall and your Town Hall, my Town Hall, I mean, these are my neighbors, these are my friends, and I know how hard they work. And I just wanted to somehow get the discussion away from, and I'm telling people, I don't know what your finances are in terms, each town is unique, obviously. But I've been trying to tell towns, school committees, boards of selectmen, you're not gonna cost cut your way out of this. You're not gonna override your way out of this. But the fact of the matter is, if I sent you to the grocery store and said, get me $20 worth of grocery, and you came to my house, I said, all I've got's $15. That doesn't work in the long run, so that the money that a town is entitled to, call them up tomorrow, they'll tell you. When I hear that the circuit breaker money on special needs went from to as low as 53% in a 5-year look back, and they were so proud of how it had crept up to 61. That other 39 comes out of the local tax rate, and particularly in education, which is a constitutionally mandated function of the town. We started out with one town, and as we added them, you had to have 3 things, and you had to have a church, congregational, not negotiable. You had to have a common for people to have their animals of draft and things, because there weren't any grocery stores. And you had to have a school. Didn't have to have a police department, didn't have to have a fire department, didn't have to have anything but a school. And here we are a couple 100 years later, and the schools are, I think, a solemn obligation. I'm the first person to graduate from Bridgewater Rainham Regional High School to serve on the Bridgewater Rainham Regional School Committee. And my purpose in coming here tonight was to simply sort of somewhere between Paul Revere and Don Quixote, to put it upon the board both as elected representatives of the town, you evidently, from what I can gather, have a good relationship with your state legislators. Rainham, in Bridgewater, we had the same state senator for 54 years in the same district. And John Parker, followed by Mark Pacheco, who retired and was not, didn't seek re-election. But Bridgewater and Rainham now in two separate Senate districts. So we're trying to reach out to people, because if one town complains, and this is what my own state representative Dennis Gallagher told me.
I'm just going to ask you that, we typically, that we're indulging a little bit here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank the board for its time, and I want to tell you this was a very enjoyable, believe it or not, this is my kind of fun. So thank you.
I believe it. I do believe it. And I thank you very much for your comments and for leaving your remarks. I can assure you that this board takes everything that you've said very much to heart. We do look at our percentages of where our revenue's coming from, and we know that the model is broken as it stands right now for a number of reasons for our town. I think was it Tolstoy that said to paraphrase Tolstoy, every unhappy community is unhappy in its own unique way.
In the literary reference.
So I actually won a trivia. I won a trivia thing with that, knowing that was Tolstoy. Anyways, I do think that it's an extraordinarily important issue, and I thank you for bringing it to our attention. So moving on, unless there's other thoughts, I'm going to go future meeting schedule. We have April 7th and April 14th as advertised. If folks are wondering why we're doing two in a row, it's because we do have April break and then there's the election. So that's pretty much the way that it works.
Can I ask, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Milano.
For the 3 members who will be here post-election, if we will need an organizational meeting as the chair will no longer be on the board. So I will follow up to poll, but we'd like to try to at least have a chair in place for at least a week prior to the town meeting so that individual can prepare for what will be asked of them. So we could do it Wednesday night after the town election or have a Zoom meeting. But anyway, I'll reach out about availability for an organizational meeting prior to the town. So
Thank you, that's important.
Selected.
Future agenda items. For myself, I think we mentioned this before, but I'd love to think about a plaque in here for the dumping room.
Yes, we started talking about that, but we have not closed the loop on that. But we can
If we put
do
it
that on the 7th.
That'd be great. Other suggested topics from members for future agenda items. Going once, going twice, sold. That said, I am going to move that we enter into executive session to review, approve the executive session meeting minutes dated October 10th, 2023, January 9th, 2024, February 26th, 2024, February 27th, 2024, March 4th, 2024, April 22nd, 2025, June 10, 2025, 1 and 2, June 2025, June 26, 2025, May 27, 2025, August 26, 2025, September 9th, 2025, September 24th, 2025, October 7th, 2025, November 18th, 2025, December 9th, 2025, and December 16th, 2025, also January 13th, 2026, January 27th, 26, and to consider the release of executive session minutes for calendar years 2022 to 2026. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
We will not return to open session, I should say.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote, even if we were all here. Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion's made. I'll second it. Again, roll call vote.
Yes.
Mr. Wells, yes. Ms. Hegarty,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you again, sir, for coming in.
Can I just ask a
Of course.